Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Corey, better known as the Seaman, and I want to welcome you to another edition of the Seaman's Cinema. Sit down. It is Sunday night, getting closer to early Monday morning, which is still night because it's dark out, but it's almost midnight. You know me. If it's Sunday night and I've been watching and talking, by the time I sit down to do this video, it's usually after 11 o'clock, and that's always funny because you guys get this video first because it's our non-spoiler. What am I talking about other than obviously the best show on TV? If you don't know, why don't you pull up a chair, take a seat. We are getting ready to dive in spoiler-free into HBO's The Last of Us Season 1, Episode 6, Kin. And this was an episode, you'll hear I say this in my lead-up to the episode in the reactions, but this is an episode that I was really intrigued by after I replayed the stretch of game. Up to this point, pretty much every gameplay, I've nailed exactly what the episode is. Like, I've started it right where it has to start because you know where the last episode ends, but then I always ended at the right spot. And for the most part, each stretch of the game really does give you enough material to, do a whole episode. Even if you go to something like Bill and Frank, where you get a completely different story than what the game gives you, while it gets you from point A to point B in the same manner, even if you would have replaced that story, like, that stretch of the game is one of the longer stretches of the game. So, like, you have plenty of material in there to flesh out a whole episode. When I replayed this one, I was like, there seems like there's a lot of space in this stretch to add to. And add to they did, but not just on the front. They went further than I figured. Like, there's a point in the game where it's like I stopped at the end of that chapter, and I was like, cool, I know what's next. We'll end there. And they actually went to the next part that I didn't think they were going to go to. But I'm very glad they did, because I think it tees us up for some really, story-wise, it's going to allow us to do some cool things next week. And then going forward, I think it sets us up in the right place by doing it the way they do it in this one. But that was kind of fun. It was the first episode where it was like I didn't exactly nail what the episode was going to be, but that's because, like I said, that stretch of the game is a lot shorter. Like, while it is our reintroduction to Tommy, it's like you get to a hydroelectro power plant. Tommy gives you like a brief tour. His wife, Maria, takes Ellie off somewhere else so you can talk to Joel one-on-one, and she talks to Ellie off-screen. You learn about what they talk about. And then Joel and Tommy have a convo. You fight a bunch of hunters, or I guess raiders are at this point. You have to go find Ellie because she disappears for a little bit. Like, she runs, just bounces from the place that they are, so they go find her. And then you come back, and then that whole kind of bit wraps itself up. And when playing it, I was like, damn, that was like a lot less story than I remembered in that stretch, like when you remove the gameplay. And I was like, for an hour of television, like, it feels like they could add a bunch, and they do. I knew that there were going to be 2 new characters in this episode based on IMDb reporting that Graham Greene and Elaine Miles show up, and we also saw them in the trailer last week. So it was one of those, like, I was excited to see how that was going to play into the episode, and figured it would play directly into the town, which, mild spoilers, it does not. It does play into the town, but not directly. So it's like you get this nice little kind of opening with the 2 of them. And what that serves from a story standpoint is a thematical element that'll kind of hang with us throughout the course of the episode, which is fear. One of the things that Druckmann and Mazin have talked about is how they kind of uniquely look at different forms of love in each of these episodes. But that's not the only thing that they're looking for. In all honesty, I think there are different main thematical elements that they're talking about in these episodes. And from those things, you can see how love plays into it, right? Love obviously plays into a massive part of fear. It's one of these things where, like, if you don't give a shit, you ain't got nothing to fear. But the minute you have something to lose, something you care about, something you love, that's where your fear can come in. And the episode does a phenomenal job of playing with that topic throughout the whole thing. But I love that you got like a nice little bit of add up top to kind of tee that thematical element up. And then one more mild spoiler, and again, we've seen it in the trailer, but we don't go to the power station. We go to the town and the little colony that we actually see in part 2 of the game. So when you watch my reactions, I had like a mind melt moment where I was like, oh man, we don't go to the town in part 1. I never put together that it was all in the same place. Like, they didn't move to a new crazy stuff. So it's kind of fun to see these characters get to spend some time in the town, and that definitely helps with some of the motivations for Joel. And that's one of the things in this stretch of the game. The motivations at certain times for both Joel and Tommy aren't necessarily super clear as to what is driving them to make those decisions. And the show does a much better job of giving time and room to breathe in certain areas, separating some things, and having those moments hit in a way that just locks in a lot more. So if you've played this stretch of the game, this episode really takes moments and says, how can we slow it down? How can we separate it? How can we spread it out a little bit, fill in other story, and then have those key moments stand out more where it's like it makes sense why Tommy makes the decisions he makes, the same for Joel. So I loved that stuff. And then the recreation of individual moments. If you've played the game, there is a scene that is like one of the most iconic in the entire game. Let me tell you, they do that scene so much justice. It's almost spot on. I like almost verbatim, word for word. It's wonderful. And the way that they build to that moment, because you're spreading things out and you're taking a little bit more time, man, it hits real hard. And it's just wonderful performance-wise. And that's the other thing that I love in this episode is the performances, specifically from Pedro and Bella, are just fantastic. Last week really advances their relationship to another place, and then when Sam and Henry, die, that impact does create a little bit more of a wall buildup. But that's something that this episode has to work to kind of tear down. And same thing in this stretch of the game. It's something that kind of starts to tear some of that down, and you're starting to see the bonding between them in a much stronger way, and it's so much more enjoyable than seeing the two of them at odds. It's less Joel bossing Ellie around and more of like a true partnership. And how they get to that moment in this episode and how that's delivered, it's exquisite. But the performances from the two of them, I mean, there's a moment with them that I would like just warmed my heart where I was like, yes, this is now the stretch of storytelling that like as a gamer you're waiting for, because their relationship and bond is so strong and unique, and it's because of all the things that they've gone up to this point, and now we can kind of ride forward with them as a duo. So they've been crushing it all season, but I definitely thought both of them brought a little more this episode. One, because you're recreating one of the most iconic and important scenes in the game, and two, you're allowing those walls to build up, back up, come back down, and the bonding to start, and they just really nail all of that stuff like excellently. And then, like I said, playing into Fear, how the episode ends up ending, which tacks on a little bit more than I thought it was going to, really hits. Like it works so, like, it was such a smart thing to go, let's actually slide that up into this episode, tease us up in a little bit of a cliffhanger, so to speak, but like makes sense when you're looking at those thematical elements of Fear and where we end up at the end of the episode. Like, it really is a nice summation of what they've done the whole episode to that point. Then when it comes to the other performances, like I said, I enjoyed Graham Greene and Elaine Miles. Graham Greene, someone who I'm familiar with, was the one I expected to pop in that scene, and he's rock solid. But Elaine Miles steals that scene. She's absolutely hysterical, and in a show where we have cried a lot more than we have smiled or laughed, it was wonderful to get a stretch where we could laugh and genuinely laugh at someone who's being genuinely funny. So I loved both of their performances. Then, of course, you've got Gabriel Luna is back finally in this episode, and he really does crush it, man. Like, that relationship between him and Joel is something that's so... I don't know if it's like just because you're playing the characters, and I am a brother and I have a brother. It's just a connection that's so rock solid. But when you actually look at what's given in the game, you're given very little, and the extra stuff that they're able to give Luna and Pascal really just tease Gabriel Luna up to have some really wonderful moments. But the two of them bouncing off each other, they feel like brothers, and the way that they interact and how things play out with them, I just loved all that stuff. And I thought Luna did a phenomenal job. And then the other standout for me in this episode would have to be Tommy's wife, Maria, who is played by this was like a fun one for me. I saw her face and I was like, I know that person, and then I saw her name. I was like, Rutina Wesley. I don't know if I know that name, but I know that face. And I clicked on the IMDb. Is freaking Tara from True Blood, and she's wonderful. It was one of those things where I was hoping that Maria would get a little bit more story because her and Ellie kind of have a separate conversation we don't see in the game. So I was hoping we'd get that, and we do get a little bit more time with Maria. And what Rutina Wesley does is solid, man. I like the things that they did as far as adding to the character and things that build into the world that we kind of now are in, and then how they're able to add things like show us that Ellie conversation. Spoilers. If you played the game, you're going to get to see that conversation. But it's one of these things where in the game, again, it's like a drop in a bucket, but you could kind of tell like Maria has a taking to Ellie in that brief moment that they have together. It's not so much the same here. The relationship between the two characters is a little bit more here. And watching Maria kind of break down some of Ellie's walls, and just watching how Wesley and Ramsey kind of play off each other, very much like while I'm digging the Joel and Tommy stuff, you're almost getting like a mother-daughter kind of sequence with the two of them, and she's great. And yeah, I mean, it's just another episode that absolutely crushes. Score continues to kick. I could listen to that guitar picking all day long, man. And set design, like this is one of those spots where we're out in the country now, man, like wide open plains and things, and the on location spots that they go to are fantastic, and the recreation of the town, like I was just sitting there, I was like, damn, man, like this is an actual place that exists. It looks so much like, it makes me wonder if Druckmann went to places and like recreated them in the game, because they found locations that almost look like they were built right out of it. Like it's wild. But let's it's another episode that I love, so let's get the old Sea Maniacs up. When it comes to an adaptation, I think most of it is pretty spot on. They have a couple tweaks and a couple adds, but I think all of it gets to the heart and the essence of what we're trying to get out of this episode, and really does enhance, I think, a lot of the story. So like it's one of these, I can't find faults in these episodes, but I'm not going to give all of them 5. So 4.5 out of 5 on the adaptation. I really couldn't pick too much apart there. And as far as the episode itself, I also go 4.5. I think it could have connected a little bit stronger. But that being said, I mean, it connects, and the scenes that you want to hit. The performances are fantastic. I mean, Pedro and Bella are just, they're doing some of their best acting to this point in the season, in this episode. Like, while there's a lot to digest and a lot of things going on last episode that just made that one pop so much for me, here, I just think Pedro and Bella are doing some really cool things. And from a relationship standpoint, we get to see, I think, the most change in how they react and respond to each other, and just the stuff they're doing, and everybody that's around them, especially Gabrielle Luna and Elaine Miles, for me, stole the show in her little opening sequence. God, so performances are great. Everything here is great. It looks great. It sounds great. It's doing all the things I want it to do, and it brings us to a really interesting place by the end of this episode. And with the plans of what is coming next episode, people are gonna have to sit with a thing. And I'll be interested to see how the internet responds to that. But yeah, for me, I'm going 4.5 across the board here. I think this is another excellent episode. This show is just damn near perfect all the time. I'm loving it. The question is, what about you guys? If you've played the game, what did you think of this adaptation, from the things that they added to the small changes they made to the way that they kind of space some stuff out that I think in this section of the game happens very, very quickly? So how'd you like that adaptation? How'd you like going to the town instead of to the generator? Did that do anything for you? And if you haven't played the game, what'd you think? Like, was it fun for you to watch Ellie and Joel come together and get a little bit closer, see that relationship evolve? What'd you think about the cliffhanger that we're sitting on? How do you feel about that? What'd you think of the like I said, the town, Gabriel Luna's performance, what's going on with this group and the other people that pop up? Anything you guys got, man, good, bad, indifferent, on HBO's The Last of Us Season 1, Episode 6, Kin. Put it down below in the comments section. I look forward to talking to you guys down there. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up. And if you're new, you want to come hang out with the Seaman every week when we watch. I gotta wait a couple days because the edits on the reactions take a while, but you're gonna get reactions to the whole episode, spoiler discussions, non-spoilers in front of those. You want to be here for all of that stuff. You dig my vibe and want to see what I gotta say about other movies and television shows. You just want to show a little of support, and you haven't yet. Well, hey, come join C Maniac Nation. It's where you can do all those things, and it's super easy. Just jump over there, hit the subscribe button, hit that little bell if you want those alerts, and until next time for the C-Man's Cinema Sit Down, I've been the C-Man. I'm signing off. Peace. Oh, you guys are still here. You snuck up on me. You must be looking for more of this guy. Well, I got 2 video options for you, man. Right up here and right over here. And if you want all those C-Man goodies, well, hey, come join the squad right on over there, and I'll catch you on the next one.